So I'm sharing today a little bit about asking and receiving. So from a few different teachers, it seems like the majority are female. So first of all, in this Living Deeply group, which I'm still a part of, NilI Weisman runs it. I met her at Romemu in New York. I learned a few things. This is like ongoing sessions. I've been in there for 3 years, 3.5 years almost. So 3 years and a few months. This is probably about when I first started. So when there's money lack or loneliness, I've had excuses. I judge myself and others for not being like me, even though I'm not able to be like me. Needing space is nothing to hide and not controlling other people's ideas of me, because who knows better does better, including me. When we exhale, we can pause. And when we inhale, we can pause. This is like the same with the resources coming in and going out. Myself and others are not a means to an end. In other words, dehumanized. The intrinsic worth is to stay present. There's commitment for peace and sanity and safety. A heart in distress is the most precious to God. This is the storehouse, are opened. We're not meant to suffer for love. We're not meant to waste the gift of now. We just are supposed to be rearranging our way or God's way, not taking it personally, and even using that opportunity to pray for the collective, that anyone who's going through it. Marianne Williamson, she's famous. I believe someone told me she's running for president, which is pretty cool. She goes back even for decades and decades of sharing wisdom and teachings about love and relationship and godliness and humanity. So she says something that most of us know from a song by Leonard Cohen: there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. When we have our eyes wide open, we never forget the taste or the sight. We keep faith and trust. It's a testimony of grace as we make peace with the pain of rock bottom in us, allowing us to trust the process of the paradigmatic, I don't even know how to say that, the paradigmatic shift. Blessing that's happening for others. I got nose itchy. One who dies before death doesn't die in death. And everything that's happening the way it's supposed to. Everyone's who they're supposed to be. We are each a force of nurture. Every moment is arriving. For our presence and our blessing, we're supposed to bless and presence and be present. And everyone coming to us is supposed to be blessed. And they're just trying to give their blessing and their presence. In Kabbalah, we learn, and I learned this from the Kabbalah Center in New York, one of the teachers, that when we ask, it's granted immediately if a vessel is capacitacious, in other words, has capacity, and is pure enough. If we feel lack, it's because we're receiving more light than the output. So there's an imbalance gradient. The energy of receiving is worthy and mercy, and judgment is boundaries, unworthy, the energy of earning. So the only thing stopping miracles in an uncorrected mutation in the code is the tests, and these are highlighters. The ideal is ready to receive in the game, and in other words, when we're whole and we're not needy, little depends on the satiations. Whatever we ask for, we have to be capable of accepting our potential power and blessings together with their challenges and their strengths, like the good and the bad. And basically, we're asking for a blessing. It comes with the dark and the light. It's all one, in one package, one vessel. So the uncorrected mutations in the code are the tests show us these. It's not to get upset. It's to show where there's still not a correction there. And that's why we're in this world. We learn in Kabbalah, it's tikkun, correction. So when we move from judgment to mercy, our certainty in painful times actually shifts it. It's from the mother, which is Bina, Ima. The father is Chachma, which is given to the mother. And this is a storehouse. So 1 is energy of mercy and 2 is energy of judgment. How do we do this shift? Is pause with a pleasure. So proving that we are, showing that we are, is different than just proving that I am or showing that I am is different than I am. So in the Zeron pin, which the father and the mother come together to make this tube, this channel of energy into our life, where the time can take longer than an instant. It takes time to, it's transferred into a buffer, which contains all the judgment and mercy from before, also protected from the unfiltered, just enough in a way that it doesn't destroy, but that it could benefit. Sometimes it would only, because the light and dark come together, sometimes it would destroy, not benefit, if it would happen right now. If we want food to be cooked, we need fire. But if we pray for fire right now and there's no vessel for it, there's no oven, there's no stove, it's just everything's on fire, it's not useful, right? We need the container, we need the vessel. We are also a product of our environment. When we think of Malchut, which is then after the Chachma and Bina, the father and mother, then we have the son. In a way, it's called the son into the daughter, but it's like the energy of the tube into the feminine, the recipient. She's us in the reality of the physical world, where we can keep company with conscious people and with inspiration, the taste of perfection, keeping on connecting with God as a reminder. It's that's kind of like where I want to move into boundaries. So this is when we have boundaries, in other words, how do you choose and why and when? And so this is from Terri Cole. Terri Cole is like the boundaries boss. She has a book about that. And I really have loved a lot of what I've learned from her. And so compliance is not the same thing as compatibility. We are, so like, this is in order to make better choices about who is in our environment. Regularly going to the things and places that matter to us will give us more internal space, because we will become less reactive, less easily annoyed, less annoyable. Versus when we go along to get along for the greater good of the relationship, we're actually abandoning ourselves. It's from a fear of conflict, a disease to please. The partner doesn't really know us. We end up feeling unknown. And the bandwidth and investment should pivot to equity and responsibility, that both people matter, instead of the short-term solution of the safety and being liked now. So our biggest boundary blocker is usually defensiveness, that we don't want to get in trouble or feel defective or make a mistake or be wrong. We end up over-explaining. We can't hear or say no. We take it too personal because of our bias. We have unmet expectations for validation and credit, like, "You never appreciate me." And we can't effectively communicate. There's a disrespectful power differential. And for many of us, we had a home with authoritarians, control freaks, power struggles, right? With chaos, addiction, the expectations were too high. That's how we got this defensiveness. So first, we have to see it, self-awareness. 2, we have to have this basement of consciousness, this self-knowledge of just who we are. And then the situations will show different aspects, but who we are. Self-acceptance is not judging it, just opening to the self. And then we can have compassion, forgive, empathize, and realize the impactors that made us this way, that maybe we didn't learn how to communicate authentic, or to be authentic, or have discipline or boundaries. And mastery, self-mastery, self-love, self-celebration. This is the direct antidote to the self-sabotage, where we avoid setting boundaries. We tell ourselves lies, we make excuses for everyone, we justify them and spare ourselves from having to bring anything up. We are people-pleasing. It's better to put their needs first. It will avoid confrontation. We may say sorry even when we're upset, and in general take too much responsibility. These are actually factors that could be called dishonest. We might think we're so noble, but we're inauthentic, manipulating for love and acceptance, controlling or fixing behavior. We're acting self-righteous because of self-sacrifices, as if they're not really self-motivated choices, the choices that we're making. We don't allow the other person to even know us and give them a chance to be whole. And so this like brokenness that we feed into the dynamic, will often end up a few things. We can't handle a pause. There's an awkwardness in the lull of the conversation, and it's a boundary violation to avoid anticipating anxiety that comes up when we won't be silent enough to know or learn the person. In other words, codependency is a massive bid for control of the outcomes versus a mutually powered relationship. And then a healing of that is to enjoy the pregnant pause, where anything could happen, instead of trying to make the conversation go a specific way or the person be a specific person. And actually, when we mislead people or talk in code, it's dissatisfaction. And when we misname emotions, we're being passive aggressive, we're talking, hiding, saying I'm annoyed when we're furious, for example. And we have to be more honest about how we're affected. That is honest. Versus pretending not to be affected. So shirking responsibilities versus taking it could be anything from needs, preferences, feelings, and thoughts. It's, I'm going to let you go, as a way of avoiding saying, I have to go now. Saying no when it's hard is we may need to develop a few little habits. So one is buying time, like I need to think about it, not giving into pressure, understanding why it's hard based on my impactors and conditioning. They can do it themselves, or are they actually in need? Sometimes people just ask for help and they can do it. Looking at my worth and what's being asked, like, are they really telling me that I should do 3 hours of free labor for them when I am, I could charge such and such for my time? Their want isn't greater than my want, and also trying new ways each time. And I'll stop here, but I hope that this was interesting, and I look forward to sharing more tomorrow. Bye.